Yay.
Hi.
So I am so excited for this heart to heart. You can probably see my face is a bit flushed. Like I get really hot and my energy starts to really go. And I can really feel it in my heart. So anyway, welcome to Heart with me, Shakti Sundari. And welcome to today's guest, Shari Thompson. I only met Shari like literally 6 weeks ago. And I'm
Is it that soon?
only 6 weeks.
Gone so fast.
And even that I'm going to ask you something about in a minute. But so I've started working with her, and I'm just really so grateful and so blown away by the approach that you're taking, Shari. So Shari is a really successful woman entrepreneur, a soulpreneur, I would say, because she works from the heart, she works from the soul. You really see this, totally authentic. And she's teaching women like me how to sort of do business completely differently to what is kind of the mainstream way. So working from the heart, working from desire, working from passion, and also integrating that with human design. So it's rocking my world. So welcome. I'm so excited that you're here.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. I'm excited to see where we go.
Yeah, me too. Is there anything you'd like to add to what I've said, Shari, about you and your work?
I don't think so. I think that, the thing that I love to do is to empower women to step into their version of alignment to activate abundance, because it happens really quickly. And after spending so much time in the masculine world and in the masculine corporate space and learning marketing from a corporate way,
Yeah.
all the blueprints, and then being able to come on this journey and to step into a more aligned space has been the ultimate liberation for me. So I'm really happy that it also resonates so deeply with so many other women as well.
Yeah, and I think that word alignment, we could unpack that a little bit in a minute, but there's like going straight into that in a way, I suppose it's like the evidence of it, because I know this will perhaps surprise some people in that how I came to be working with you. It's just an example of how it works. I've been feeling for a while, like tuning into my soul and kind of really realizing that there's, I'm doing what I love. I'm following my soul's calling, absolutely. I'm brilliant at what I do. And the financial piece hasn't always worked. It hasn't flowed for me. And so I've been like asking the universe, like, I really want to address this. I need some guidance, and I was just sitting, waiting. And then just through the connection of a mutual acquaintance, your name came up. I'd never heard of you. Never heard of you. And within like 2 days, 3 days, I just reached out to you. You sent me some information, and I instantly knew in my body, not in my mind, like I'm going to do this. Just instant knowing like that. And I followed the knowing, and of course, no regrets, only huge gratitude for everything that I'm learning. So it's like that's how it works.
100%. And it's no surprise to me, because I have this conversation all of the time. So many women who find me out of like some mutual friend or some really bizarre twist of fate has me show up on their timeline out of seemingly nowhere, and all of a sudden they're in my inbox and booking to work with me one-to-one or signing up to a course. It happens all of the time. And yeah, it's the best, because it's just such, like, you never know what's going to happen every day, and you get to be in that really gorgeous energy of surprise and excitement about what's about to unfold every single day. I love it.
So can you explain that magic piece, because I know I kind of understand it now myself, but like for anyone watching who's like, but did she do this, and how comes didn't she think through the logical steps, and all of that, the logical mind might be kicking in. So how would you explain that magic?
The thing that I would like to say is that everybody goes into the logical place. There's very few people who don't go into the logical place when they first start to embrace or explore or understand alignment, because we are in a masculine society. From day one, we've been praised for being logical and rational and, you know, all of the brain things. We get praised for being in the masculine, and of course it's a masculine society, so it is natural for that to happen. But I think there's also a bit of, well, I shouldn't be asking how to get into energy. And I feel like there's a big missing piece. So I'm really passionate about making it tangible to tune into your alignment, because when you're in alignment, your energy is flowing, everything is flowing. And I see this as this gorgeous golden column of light that goes throughout our body and brings all of our energy centers into alignment, and it connects our head to our heart and to our soul, and it's our thoughts and it's our energy and it's our actions that all come from the same place to move towards an aligned desire. And when we're in alignment, the reason why it's so empowering is that we become magnetic, and the universe literally supports us at every single step of the way. I mean, the universe is always supporting us. We can make it more challenging for ourselves, but the more we step into alignment, the easier things become. We get to flow, we get to create overflow in our world, we get to create abundance, and we do it in a way where we don't have to do more. We get to be more. We get to have more fun. We get to do the things that really light us up without having to do more and push more. And I think this is one of the things that can start to trip us up is, but if I want to create more in my business, I've got to do more. I have to have these things, or I have to follow this blueprint. But the truth is, when we're in alignment, we get to be more, because the energy is where the alignment comes from. So I work 3 or 4 hours a day in my business, and that's it. 4 hours is a busy day. So, but my business is still thriving, and generally I take Fridays off as well. That's also so you can create whatever you choose really easily from alignment. The work piece about being in alignment is to trust your alignment. So that's where we naturally go into our head and go, okay, but am I in alignment now? Is this what it's supposed to feel like? Is this what alignment is? Is this what everyone's talking about? Yeah. So I use human design because I really love that it literally bridges the gap between soul and strategy. So all of a sudden we have this beautiful science of the aura that creates this blueprint of how you are designed personally to be in the world, what you're here to experience, who you're designed to be, how you're designed to work. And from that, we can turn energy into something that's really tangible, so that you know categorically, this for me personally is how I feel alignment. This is how I know I'm aligned or not. This is what my strength is. This is how I receive my guidance. All of those pieces become tangible instead of this really abstract, oh, just be in alignment. Yeah, but what does that mean? I spent so much time in my head going, but am I there? Is this alignment? Is this what it's supposed to be like? And then of course I'm out of alignment then. So
yeah, you mentioned actually your 3 points, or I don't know, 3 aspects of alignment. You mentioned thought, energy, and
action. Yeah.
I was going to ask you that question, like, what is alignment? How do I know if I'm aligned?
Yeah. Well, we get to, the thing is that our thoughts are really powerful, because our thoughts inherently create our emotions, and then that feeds into our energy, and in many respects reflects in how we act and how we show up. And what I found as I was going on the journey of discovering different energetic tools and different alignment pieces was that there is a lot on mindset, like your thoughts, right. And we can recognize how powerful they are, and they're a really great indicator of where your energy is as well. There's a lot on energy itself and how we have clean and pure energy, and we are in alignment, and we have this energy mastery and emotional intelligence and all of those pieces, which is amazing. I always found that there was a missing piece, and so many people were spending a lot of time working on mindset and alignment and not recognizing how powerful action is at actually moving energy or creating alignment, because the other two pieces really are theoretical in a lot of aspects, because you can do the thought work and you can do the energy work, but it's still a theory that you're in alignment with the piece that you want to do until you do it, because you can't predict how it's going to feel.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, so you kind of need the feedback of trying things out and then just noticing what happens as a result of the action, and then you can keep
100%.
fine tuning. And actually working with you has really helped me in that regard, because I had, past tense, this really ingrained pattern, and I think it's quite common, so you know, I feel no shame or embarrassment in saying it, but like if things went wrong or didn't go as I wanted them to or as I expected them to, my reaction to that would often be to judge myself, to compare myself, and to get down on myself. And sort of, you know, it would be an excuse for the kind of what I think you call it the bully masculine part of my mind, to say you're not good enough. Oh, that you're rubbish then. That means nobody appreciates what you do. So I would go into this downward spiral with it, rather than now, which is really, really helpful, because sort of understanding, well, I tried it and obviously something was out of alignment. So what was it? Let me try it again this way, you know?
Yeah. And approaching it with this natural curiosity, just being curious, I wonder what would happen. You know, when we bring this playful energy into our business is traditionally very serious, like you've got to be serious to be in business. But if we bring this playful energy into it and just experiment and be curious, and I wonder what would happen, or I've had this really amazing idea, it makes no sense, but I'm going to go with it and just see what happens. Like, there's no pressure, there's no attachment, and whatever you get from it is always going to be perfect.
Yeah, that is really, having that mindset is already like such a game changer. And I was just going to sort of ask you, adding on to that, the thing about I was going to go, although we are talking about the actions, I also want to go back to the energy part, actually, because for me, and again, I think this might resonate for a lot of women, you know, same as you, but different. I used to work, when I graduated, I worked in management consultancy. You know, I had my shoulder pads, I had my briefcase, I traveled around the world, had a lot of money in my bank account, I had a BMW, I had, you know, all this stuff, but my soul wasn't fulfilled. And I, you know, so I've got a really good mind. It can do all those analytical things brilliantly. But when I kind of switched into what I do now, which I've been doing for 17 years, you know, teaching awareness, embodiment, awakening for women, it's like that part of me kind of wasn't really on board, I guess. And or I pushed it away in almost initially a reaction against that way of being. It was like, no, I'm all in my new age stuff now. But there was an imbalance. And you know, now it's like the emphasis much more on coming into alignment and the energy, which means dancing in the morning, massaging, playing music, eating good food, wearing beautiful clothes, you know, all those things which are about how I feel. And first of all, prioritizing that feeling state, which I think to a lot of women and men who would watch this would be like, well, how would that make sense? Like, surely I need to get on and do all the things on my list and get to my list.
It's this, you know, the society that we're in is, because it's masculine, it's a bit topsy-turvy, I find. So a lot of the work that I do always starts with the feminine. The daily rituals I do every day, it starts with the energy piece, thoughts, energy, you know, mind, body, soul, being in ourselves and really appreciating the human experience and tuning into everything that we can create and aligning and activating our energy with our highest self and our highest potential. And all of these things means that when we do the things, the energy that we infuse into the actions allows us to amplify the results that we get, because we're in this heightened state of magnetism. So every time we post on social media, for example, we are infusing our energy into it. So if we're doing it with the energy, I've just got to get on and do it and tick it off my list, I'm busy, I've got all these other things to do, people feel that energy. So imagine being the person who's speaking to somebody who's really busy and just got to get on and do things. You feel like an imposition. Nobody really wants to connect with that energy in the same way as if you're like, oh, I feel so good, I feel so magnetic, I've got this amazing message that's come from my soul that I feel so impassioned to share. It's not a chore. It's like true connection. And it has a very different vibe, and it has a very different feeling for the people who receive that message. So like the feminine rituals don't even have to take a long time, but we get to really prioritize how we feel and the alignment that we're in. It becomes really important. On the flip side of that, this is it, I was just talking about this literally earlier on, is that most things, I believe, if we flip it and start with the feminine, the things that we don't have the evidence for, the things that we don't have the proof of, then we can create so much more. It's like I was talking to somebody who said, I would like to lose weight so that I feel sexy. And I said, but you know what's really magical is if you tune into feeling sexy now, you will lose the weight. Because we get to flip it around, like the bully masculine and say, no, but you need to lose the weight to have this. Whereas if you allow the empowered feminine, the queen, to come out and just be like, we already got this, then the weight falls off. And we get to do this in business. The more we tune into the feminine first. And I mean, you're doing this now, working through my program. We tune into the feminine first. And it can feel very counterintuitive to so many women who I work with, because their mind is already racing ahead going, yeah, but how do we do that? How do we do that? What does it look like? How do I do it? Maybe we just need to come back down a little bit. Let's move down, be in the feminine, and we will get to the how. But the action piece is like a nanosecond once you do the energy work. You don't need to spend a lot of time on that, you know?
Yeah, it's making more and more sense for me personally. The way I've described it, because friends have asked me about it already, and I said, well, it's kind of like doing business like from the bottom up rather than from the top down. That's how I've described it. And you know, again, I have no shame in saying this, even though I've been working in the realm of the feminine and I was very much in the realm of the masculine before. You know, I'm having pretty much daily revelations of where I thought I was doing something, or I thought I was being something, and actually I'm bringing greater awareness to it and seeing that I wasn't. So it's a great, like, I'm experiencing it as a great journey of deeper self-awareness on every level, like, and really like checking, like being even more finely attuned to my energy, and like noticing pretty quickly like what's, if something's off, and then like paying attention to that and like, okay, so what's off, and like being with it. So it's like this mastery process is how I'm experiencing
100%. Yeah, the awareness is so key, and this is why the action piece is so important, because you don't always get the awareness until you're in the action, until you're moving the energy. And being able to not only recognize it, but allow it to be okay without judgment. It just is. And we get to embrace all of the human emotions and all of those pieces as well, but know that we can still move forward and expand is really magic. It's energy mastery in its purest form.
Yeah, it really is. And I love also that you've mentioned in the group as well that it's not always pretty and it's not always comfortable.
Yes.
So talk a bit about that, sort of the edge of being in alignment, and yet it can still feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, I think there's a whole misnomer about alignment, because alignment creates ease. It does, but it doesn't always feel comfortable, because your soul wants you to expand. Your soul wants you to be in growth. But in order to be in growth, we have to not only trust the things that we have no proof for sometimes, or go really off what is logical and strategic and trust that that is perfect, but we also have to step into expansion, which is where our comfort zone is no longer existent. And we are in a society where comfort is the ultimate for everything. Everything's got to be comfortable. You know, you get a headache, take a pill. You feel sad, take a pill. Let's just deal with it quick. Let's move it and squash it down. And even if you look at marketing, everything that you pay extra for is comfort. You know, if you think about flights, you pay for business class because it's comfortable. And it's really we're so conditioned to be looking for comfort that when we tune into alignment and alignment takes us beyond the edge of what is comfortable, then we're like, this doesn't feel easy anymore. This doesn't feel exciting. This is feeling uncomfortable. So this is not aligned. Let me just come back here. But in truth, the expansion comes from embracing that discomfort and being able to move through that in a way that still is navigating alignment and bringing yourself into course correction, because not everybody is in alignment 100% of the time.
Right.
There is no one person who is.
Yeah.
So we bring ourselves back in using awareness, understanding our energy, embracing the discomfort and being okay sat in the discomfort. Now, I've had a terrible relationship with discomfort in the past, I'll be totally honest. In my human design, I have an undefined emotional center. So what that has meant is, for me, I have tried to numb out all the emotions that I'm feeling from other people. So in the past, I've relied a lot on wine or literally running away or escapism or anything like that. But the magic in understanding now that embracing the discomfort and doing this, the ugly cries, or having like a day where you're just in your own space, releasing and feeling all of the things that don't always feel nice to feel, but knowing and trusting that it's all perfect, has been the most expansive experience of my life. Literally one of the most expansive things that I've ever done is to be able to be with the feelings and to trust that it's the humanness in our experience. We chose to be here as a human. We can't just squash all the things down and think it's going to go away. We're just pushing it all down and manifesting it into something else. Right. So when we get to embrace it all, we get to expand so much faster.
Yeah. And then, it's ironic because that's fully what I teach in my own programs. It's like, women come wanting what I offer, and there can be this image that it's just all about being radiant, it's all about being really juicy, and it is, and that also requires going through the uncomfortable processing and feeling of the emotions that have been not felt, and sort of looking at the shadows and all of that stuff. So I get that, and that's been happening for me in the work with you as well. And so it's familiar, but still sometimes surprising. It's like, oh gosh, I didn't realize that was there. So I just think it's really important, because people can see the image of somebody. They can see you, they can see me, they can see any successful out there woman doing her thing, looking beautiful, and they just think, oh well, she's got it easy, she doesn't, it's whatever, and make all these assumptions. So I think it's really important to be honest and just share that we all experience this. And
100%. And every person who is where we're aspiring to be, they've gone through all of this as well. And for me, integrity is one of the biggest pieces of alignment. Integrity, alignment, and truth, they're all the same thing. So I feel like it's really important to share the other side of all of this, and be really honest about, sometimes it's going to be painful, sometimes it's going to be messy, sometimes it's going to be hard, and sometimes it's going to be like really ugly, snotty, crying, heaving sobs, and that's okay. It gets to be all of that, and it still gets to be perfect. And I actually went into my group, and because I was working through some emotions using my alchemy process, I was like, actually, I really need to go live and do it in the group. And I'm working through it all, and even as I'm saying it, I'm like, this is crazy, why am I doing this? But it was so important to be in the moment and to be crying and to be snotty and to share how I'm moving from the thoughts to the energy, to move all of the feelings and to process it in a really empowering way. So that's really important for me as well.
And again, that is just music to my heart. And gosh, it just sort of triggers, things just triggered thoughts from me, which is that some years ago I was in an abusive relationship, and I remember, like, at the time I was trying to build my business profile up, and my way has always been to speak really authentically from the heart and just show up vulnerably as I am. and that's always resonated, but I've never done it as a strategy. I've just done it because that's me.
Yeah.
You know, but he would say to me, you can't show up like that. People aren't going to respect you if you admit to being weak.
That's a very masculine viewpoint.
That is not what it feels to me. This feels like I'm just being authentic. It's like, oh, no one's going to respect you if you admit to this or if you admit to that. I'm like, but that's, we all have those. I don't see it as weak either. I just see it as human, just like you.
Yeah, of course. And I guess it's also, you know, that his interpretation was that you were doing it for respect rather than doing it because you're guided to, or because we're all human. And actually it's really empowering to be able, like, it's the most vulnerable thing, isn't it, to share those pieces. It would be easier to cover it all up and go, no, I'm just gliding through life and everything's great. But it's actually very courageous and vulnerable and hugely supportive for people who are going through similar.
Exactly. Can we go a little bit into your story? Because I'm curious, although I know a little bit, like how, because you said at the very beginning you came from a very traditional, you know, you got your MBA, you've done your marketing. So what was it for you that led you to suddenly be like, to flip the narrative really and change the way that you work and be offering what you do now?
I mean, it's a bit of a journey, so I'll try and keep it concise. I guess I always knew there was an entrepreneur inside of me. I decided when I was 18 I would have a company called Green Jelly, and at the same time I decided I was going to have a baby boy called Archie. Literally happened at the same time. And even though at that time I'd been told I wouldn't have a baby, and I'd had lots of problems with endometriosis and, or like, been in hospital a lot of times and blood transfusions and all sorts of things.
Oh, wow.
So, and I was told at 15 I probably wouldn't have children. And so it was like a declaration almost. It was a knowing. I knew this was what was going to happen. And so, yeah, I did my marketing degree, half marketing, half statistics, very
Wow.
masculine. And this is why I love the funnels and the ads. Like, I can geek out all day with funnels and ads, but I do funnels and ads in a very different way. So, and then went into corporate world in construction. I was actually a marketing manager, directly brought in at 23 as a female who was blonde.
Wow.
Within this corporate world of all these middle-aged men who just did not like me at all. So I had to learn very quickly. Like, you know, there was a lot of growth in that period of time. And then I studied for my MBA at the same time. Again, my MBA, I graduated at 27, and you weren't actually supposed to start until you were 27 because of the route that I went. And I was like, no, I'm doing this now. And then I got promoted to another company, which was another very masculine company within the same family of companies, if you like. And that was for an engineering company that was in oil and gas.
Wow.
And that was up in the north of the country. Now, I'm from the Midlands, and this was up in North Yorkshire, County Durham area. And so I went up there, and I had my last operation. I mean, there's loads of stories I could tell you about how insanely sexist and all the things that company was, or just the industry actually in general. It was,
you know, you've just described just archetypically masculine environments right there.
Yeah, exactly. And so then I had my last operation that I've had for the endometriosis, and the surgeon said to me, you need a hysterectomy. And I said, no, I'm having a baby. And 2 months later, I found out I was pregnant with Archie. Yay, my little miracle baby. And so then obviously I was very excited, and his dad decided when I was 6 months pregnant that he was going to leave. So he left, and I was up in North Yorkshire, like 200 miles away from my family. So I moved back to the Midlands to be with my family. But his father he had a gambling addiction. So I had to work all the way through maternity. And by doing that, I was leaving Archie with my parents 3 days a week and then traveling up and working in Yorkshire for 3 days a week. And so literally 9 years ago this month, when he was 4 months old, I was like, no, I'm not doing this anymore. Oh, I forgot to mention that I had tried to set up businesses in the past and they'd never worked out. But this time I was like, I'm doing it. This is happening. So Green Jelly was born, and it was a very masculine marketing agency with the sole aim to not be apart from my son. So I built up this business in a really masculine way because that's all I knew. So I'm going to go networking and work for construction companies and manufacturing companies and all these things. And the business grew and it was really successful from the outside. So what my definition at the time of success was I had an office and I had a team and I had corporate clients all over the country. So I was still leaving Archie and I was still working really hard and I was still burning out and I was totally disconnected from all of my desires. And it wasn't until somebody who I knew before Archie was born reminded me that I said I was always going to World School Archie, that I remembered my desires. And even as I say this in my story, I'm like, that is insane. How do you get so disconnected from something as significant as that? And it just happens all the time because I just created another job. I'd created a job that had more stress, less leave. And so when I remembered this and I was reconnected, it was like so much happened in such a short space of time. It was like a business awakening in many respects, because I realized that things had to change. We were going to go world schooling. And at the same time, it's when I started exploring energy and alignment and all of these pieces. So I'd been doing lots of courses and studying and certifications in energy alignment. And then we took the leap and we moved to Bali. So straight in, intuition had said, go to Bali. So off we went to Bali and decided that this was my time to step into the message that I knew was true for me. Right. And to do that, I had to be in integrity. So I had to disconnect from the clients who were not bringing me joy. And as soon as I disconnected from them, the rest of the clients also went. So now I'm in Bali with my son, who he was 6 at the time, or five or six, I can't remember exactly. But we were in this, no, he was 6 at the time. So we're the other side of the world, and all of a sudden my income is not coming in. I'm like, okay, now I have a choice. I can go back to what I know to be true. I can go back to the evidence that I have. I can go back to what I know works for me and get more clients for the agency and do that. And that's, it's suddenly gone really dark in here, isn't it? And get all the agency up and running again. I can do that, or I can trust in the unknown, because that's where my heart wants to go. Honestly, the easier option is always what you already know.
Definitely. I mean, that's, I can just, as you tell your story, I'm just picturing that situation and feeling that situation, like in a different country, single mama, young child, no clients, no obvious income immediately.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
And people probably around you, maybe, I don't know what your family's like, or other people saying, are you crazy? Like, did you get that?
100%. Before I went, have you ever been to Bali before? No. But you're packing up your whole life and moving there? Yeah. Why? Like, what is happening? And of course, then, because you're following what is aligned for you, but it doesn't make sense and it's not logical, so it's not comfortable, other people's feedback of that situation really plays into, okay, well, it would be easier for me to stay. Maybe I'll just stay. Yeah, they're right. It is a crazy thing. But for me, I always weigh up, like, am I going to regret it more if I don't do it?
Yeah.
So obviously we went, and it's the same in this situation now when we're there, and I'm like, but it would be easier to go back to what I know and to get, like, hustle and get some clients on board. That would be really easy, but it wouldn't light me up. And why? It's like, this really is the perfect gift from the universe. So I stepped into it, and actually by divine guidance, I ended up at the place from Eat, Pray, Love, where she goes in Bali and she sees the Katut.
Yeah.
we ended up in that, like, it's a series of very random coincidences, but of course it's all been guided. And I had a reading. It wasn't Katup because he's died, but it was his son. And I had a reading with him, and he echoed everything that I knew to be true. I'm like, this is just so beautiful. And really tuning into that was where everything changed for me in my business, and being able to be in alignment and to come from that place of alignment. And so from that space, I went on to literally sell out my first group program, which is the program you're doing now in its first guise, when it was Gentle Hustle. Went out to sell out that program, and then, you know, Archie and I went on to travel and live in different places and experience more and more alignment, and move more deeply into my message and what it means, and how I get to live and lead by example and embody everything that I share. And yeah, it's just like, I'm really grateful that I had the courage, because it's not, this is the thing, it's not always easy. But if you have the courage, then the rest comes.
Yeah, and I really want to honor that in you. I really want to honor that, because I totally understand, relate, empathize, get, like, being in those situations where it's like, do I choose the comfortable or do I take a leap? Do I choose the comfortable? And you know, and I can think of women in my program that I'm working with now, you know, who really have been very disconnected from their desires, and you know, all those stories that we make in terms of, I've got to put the children first, or I need to do this, or I'm not doing that, I've got to create financial security for myself. But it's like killing the soul. Killing the soul. Like, literally, I can see it, like, whoa. And it's, you know, if you really tap into the feeling of that, it's a really heavy feeling in the body and in the heart. But to move, to shift, it does require, like you were saying at the beginning, action and the courage to take those leaps, and trust that you're gonna, you know, that the ground will move up beneath to meet your feet, as it were. So it's beautiful that you've spoken so honestly about that journey, you know, and not make light of it. And I'm curious about so many things, actually. But like, because somewhere in this journey that you've described, obviously your connection to source, or however you define it, your spiritual gifts have come online. You know, and as I know you anyway, like I experience you as sort of very tapped in, very what would I say, like a little bit psychic. You know, you bring a strong energy of healing and love and compassion into the space that you hold. So like, where along the line was that, like a gradual coming online of your spiritual gifts, or again, was it something you've always had an interest in from the very beginning?
Yeah, so interesting. When I think back, it has always been there. I mean, so the way that I receive my guidance, my primary clair is clairaudience.
Right.
And I remember totally blocking it out when I was little, because obviously when you're falling asleep is when you're most connected. And so I'd hear all these voices while I was falling asleep, and it would freak me out. So I'd be like, no, I'm not having this. And being able to reconnect with that has been so powerful. But I guess it's been a gradual thing, really, because it's taken me to trust in myself first, and to trust that it's true for me first, and to be able to honor the guidance for my path before I can share it with other people. And that's really important for me with everything that I do anyway. But the courage to share what is not traditionally thought of as a business gift in many ways. Like, you know, I do psychic Thursdays and things in my group, and when I went through the process of awakening my psychic powers, or even tuning into my intuition and really deeply connecting, it felt like I needed that courage again, because I've gone from, okay, I'm talking about marketing and funnels and facts and figures to, oh no, I can connect with your energy. And it felt like there was another faith a leap of faith to be embraced. And I'm so grateful that I did, because now that I understand human design as well, because that wasn't always a piece of my journey either, but now I understand it to the level that I do. It was always there. It was always so in me. You know, it was always such a big piece of me. And what I find really interesting about my human design, I don't know if I've spoken to you about this before, is that I have a channel called the Genius Freak.
We've
I
heard
do
you
talk about
mention it. I don't know what it is though, so
I do talk about the Genius Freak a lot. So the Genius Freak is a channel of energy that connects your ajna to your throat. And the Genius Freak is basically the channel that means that you can take complex things and assimilate them and turn them into really simple processes and things, I guess, and explain really well what is complex into a simplified way. But the Genius Freak is also where your soul makes a contract, or makes a deal when it comes into this lifetime, that you're going to be further ahead in terms of the paradigm. You're going to be like moving the paradigm forward. So you're going to come out and have these ideas that might feel radical, they might be ridiculed, but that's okay. You've made a deal. Like, your soul is all down for it. So even if people are like, what are you even talking about, which happens a lot, especially in like outside the online space, that happens a lot, and it's okay, because I know so deeply, but it's taken such a long time to trust that, because you're moving boundaries, you know, you're changing the way people are doing business, and that can feel big sometimes. But I just, yeah, I don't know if I answered the question. Went all over the place.
no, it's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. And again, honoring you and really hearing that sense of pushing the boundaries, changing the paradigms. And yeah, I don't think of it that way myself, because I'm so in it as well. But it's, in a way, it could be seen as quite radical. Yeah. And so really requiring that alignment, because that's what gives you the power
100%.
to stand in, you know, in your reality. I was wondering, because there's so many things I want to ask you about, like, but I was wondering if you could give a few examples for people, because I think those always help, of where, you know, because I always write down like the words as people are talking, and I've put down a couple of things like no evidence, trust when there's no proof. And so it'd be great to have an example of what's happened when you've done that.
Well, I guess Archie is a great piece of evidence. You know, I had so many operations, and, you know, my endometriosis was awful, but I knew so deeply, and I trusted, despite what everybody was telling me, the evidence that was in front of me. I knew I was going to have a baby boy called Archie. Does that?
That's, I mean, yeah, I can't get much bigger than that. And you know, that actually, so I can really feel that in my heart, and it's really beautiful. I also remember you saying something the other day, and you said, you've always had this belief, I can have what I want. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah. So my ex actually said to me, he was like, you're never happy unless you get in your way. And I'm like, well, of course. But I know I can always get my way. So like, I always know that, and I don't even know where it comes from, because I was not, it's not like I was brought up spoiled or, you know, indulged or entitled. It's just, I know that if it's coming from my heart and my soul, that I will always find a way to create it. I know that if it's in me, there will always be a way. And I don't need to know it, and I don't need to have it like planned out. I just always know, and everything always happens in the way, not in the way, but I always get to where I want to be or have what I want to have, but I don't know the steps, if that makes sense.
Totally. And this is a really big piece, I think, Shari. Again, because you're living it so much now, maybe I don't know, maybe it's, but I can really see how this is a huge piece for any woman watching this back. It's a huge piece for me, which is the belief that I was conditioned with as a little girl, which is it's greedy and selfish to ask for what you want, and you just get what you're given, and you should be grateful for what you're given. And that was such a strong programming.
Yeah.
And then also for me, what's come in sort of on top of that has been a little bit, because the spiritual path has been like so like fundamentally like that's my life is around that sort of spiritual embodying embodying the spirituality. But like some of the teachings around that would suggest that, particularly if they're religious, which I'm not, although I was, but I'm not religious, that desire, wanting, is not spiritual or not good. And I think addressing that piece is really important.
And I think that there's a big difference between desire and wanting. I think desire is, you know, I believe that our soul has already created the desires that are available for us right now. And if we really tune into what our desires are, some people will have totally different desires. And that's because they're energetically correct for them and not for you. But all of your desires are literally on the outskirts of your aura. They're all available for us. And our soul in the very purest form has created us with those desires in mind. Not in mind, you know what I mean? with those desires at the core of our being. And a woman who is fulfilled, and a woman who is living in her desire, and who has an abundance of whatever it is that she chooses, whatever she decides, she is able to affect so much more change in the world and raise the vibration of the entire planet with so much more power, with so much more amplification of that vibe. Women, like rich spiritual women, will change the world, because rich spiritual women can give back so much more. They can raise the vibration. They can show, I shared in one of the lives I did the other day about the reason that I do the work that I do is, of course, I love the women that I work with, and my desire is for every single woman to be wildly abundant in a way that is aligned. But the reason I do what I do is to allow the next generation to feel so deeply loved and connected, and to feel that they're in a much higher frequency in general, that they can, the world changes because of the work that we do. If I sit here and play small, nobody else who comes into my world is going to have the same results as if they create this energy exchange, because that's all money is. It's the energy exchange. The more you put into my energy, the more I'm going to put into your energy. That's the value exchange right there. If you are sitting and playing small, then how is the change being affected? It's smaller and it's more gradual. So I'm like, no, let's claim the abundance that we were designed to live in, so that we can create this change in the world. And yeah, I had the same conditioning as you. Get what you're given, be grateful for what you've got, and you can still be grateful for what you've got. I don't believe that you have to accept everything that you're given. Like you also get to be discerning about that too. Do I want all of that? No thanks. Because when we come from a place that serves us first, it serves everybody. We're in a win-win universe, and the more we are empowered, the more we are in this place of desire, the more we're in a place of abundance, the more we get to change that. Because let's be honest, look at some of the people who do have access to abundance right now. They're not doing a great job at creating a world that I would like my children and grandchildren to be living in. So if I want to change that, I've got to do something about that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I love that one. Yeah, mama.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, that is beautiful. And what I just wrote down the word martyr on my piece of paper. Just kind of, again, I know that role so well for women. It's like there can be this conditioning to sacrifice your desires, your wants, your needs for the family, for the children, for the parent, that sort of conditioning. And I love the way that you model kind of again flipping that around a different way, and just really understanding that the more I give myself and the more I receive and open to receive, the more the world benefits, everyone
100%.
benefits. It's just really, really beautiful to
Thank
kind of
you.
conceive it that way and feel it that way. It just changes everything. Yeah, and I'm with you.
Yes. Good.
I'm just going to check the time because I'm aware of our time. Okay, I can ask you one more question then, because we could go on forever. Something about masculine and feminine, because that's come up in the conversation. My work as well is about masculine and feminine, and it's internally fascinating to me. And again, it's been a bit of a shock. Oh, that might be a bit too strong a word, but like a realization that there are ways where my masculine and feminine, I've done tons of healing on that inner relationship, and then still I'm like seeing, oh wow, they have not been on the same page in my business, not really working the way they could be. And it's like, oh.
I think it's really interesting, isn't it? Because energy is energy across the board, but we have different pockets of our lives where we be one person in business, and like business is this way, so that's how it is in business, and relationships are one way and that's how it be in relationships. And so it does take the perspective shift to have you see where that then also plays out in lots of different places in your life too.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, I love the masculine and the feminine. I feel like I have, and when I look at the evidence, there's a lot of duality in my energy between the masculine and the feminine. There's a lot of 50-50, and my love of statistics and ads and funnels, but also my love of creativity and desire and energy and alignment and stuff. So for me, the way that I look at, do you want me to go anywhere specific with this, or do you want me just to go where I'm going?
Keep going.
Okay. So the way that I see masculine and feminine in the business context is, the masculine is the energy of doing, it's the energy of providing for, it's the energy of time and money. And
That
then
was
you've
revelation. Sorry, Shari, but that one I was like, what?
yeah, time and money. So of course, so how many women have distrust of the masculine as a persona? If you imagine masculine energy as a guy, we're like, well, I'm not really sure I trust you. So then we inherently feel like we're running out of time, especially because women, like, we literally do run out of time to procreate, and there's an evolutionary purpose.
Yeah.
Time for women is a very different concept to time for men. So, running out of time and money, I don't trust the man to bring the money. I don't, there's a lot of things that happen with the masculine piece.
Yeah.
So then we take over and we're all in the masculine, like, I've got to do because I don't trust him to bring it. I don't trust the energy to bring it, you see?
Yeah.
And then over here, you've got like the neglected feminine who's like, can I have something?
I know. Yeah, I was just thinking of like myself in the past so many times, clients I work with. Well, I'd love to do your program, but I haven't got time. Or I'd love to do these practices, that would make me feel more juicy, maybe it would really help me feel more connected to source, but I haven't got the time. It's like, I haven't got the time, I've got to do this. But then what happens is, like, as in your juiciness, your aliveness, your lusciousness, your creativity, it just
shrivels up. It's like, I don't know if you've seen The Little Mermaid, the Disney movie.
I have seen it, but I don't remember
back
much
in the day. There's these, so the bad witch octopus woman captures all the souls, and they kind of shrivel up into these little weeds that live at the bottom of the sea. And it kind of reminds me of that, because we're born to be in the feminine, we're born to really harness this energy, and then we have a lifetime of conditioning to put us in the masculine, and then all of these beliefs and stories and experiences with men, masculine, whatever, that builds this distrust or this need to control and push and all of these things. And then we've got this feminine energy, which when we get to literally turn her on, we become so much more magnetic, so much more creative. We get to embrace play, desire, our intuition, our guidance. We get to be. And we're in a world where it's very difficult to be, because it's very difficult to switch off. Like, we've got to be busy. It's the badge of honor, isn't it, to be busy? The busier you are, the more successful you are. And we get to really understand how these energies play in our business. So for me, I love having the masculine. I don't ever want to lose the masculine, but I love him to show up in the form of a funnel, in the form of
a very phallic funnel.
Yes. Funnel and the ads, and he can provide for me all day long. You know, I can create time and money all day long because he's showing up, which means that I get to be in the feminine and follow intuition, follow guidance, follow alignment, without having that context of, yeah, this is amazing, but is that going to pay my mortgage? Because we dull the shine all the time, because we're like, yeah, but is the masculine going to come through? And the way that it also, I mean, you don't even need a funnel and ads. For me, I see the funnel and the ads as the masculine structure that supports you being in the feminine. But the truth is, the more you connect with the feminine, the more you're able to do the masculine without it being like, I have to control all of the masculine, do all of the masculine and keep doing and doing. Yeah. You get to do the masculine, it still does the same thing. It's still going to connect. It's still going to deliver. It's still going to create more money and time for you and provide and support for you, but in a much more empowered way. And I think that sometimes we're a bit topsy-turvy with this. And I don't know if you went through the aligned wealth activation, but in aligned, yeah, did you like it?
Like, you finish your thing and I'll tell you what happened.
Okay, so in aligned wealth, which is one of my programs, it's about literally bringing harmony to the masculine and the feminine, because there's so many of us who recognize that we have this disproportionate relationship with, you know, that there's no harmony with the masculine and the feminine inside of us. And so the way we fix it is to go over and do loads of money mindset work, and, you know, like, I want to create more wealth, so I'm going to go do all the money mindset work. So we heal some of the masculine piece, but if we don't heal the feminine first, we've got nowhere to receive it anyway. And we might make more money, but we're going to find a way to lose that money or to spend that money because we haven't done the healing on the feminine first. And this is why I always start with the feminine. It's so important. The feminine has to lead. If you think about it, even with your relationships, for ladies who are here with your partners, they're not going to come to you, like, I'm generalizing, but generally they're not going to come to you and say, oh, I found this really amazing course about energy alignment, or about, you know, the things that we go to them with. And it's because we create the way, we lead first, and they trust in us to move forwards in that way. Does that make sense?
It makes total sense. You know, I made some really amazing discoveries about my relationship with time and money, and sort of, I'd never seen that as the masculine. And when I sort of used that framework, it was like, whoo, okay, I'm seeing so many things here, about, you know, not having enough time, not having enough money. Yeah. And guess what? Then in my life, I've been complaining, there's no men. Where are the men? There aren't any men. So
where are all the good men?
Where are all the good men? You know, that whole story.
Yeah.
Right. And it really brought me up short. And I was like, okay, I really see what I've been doing here. And I had this beautiful, I can't remember now, there was a meditation that you guided us through. And I really had that feeling of a reconciliation happening in my heart between my masculine and feminine in this, you know, in the business framework. I've done it in other areas, but in this framework, and it was really moving. And you know, I don't know if I'm imagining this or not, but like a few days later, I went and changed. I have a profile on Spiritual Singles dating site, and I just went and looked at it and I thought, oh, and I kind of rewrote it. And then I've had like 4 men write to me this morning. I'm like, isn't that interesting?
Yeah, I love it. Move the energy.
So it's all related, isn't it?
100%, 100%. Like I said, energy is energy across the board. How you are in one area is how you are in every area. And people don't like to believe that, because I have so much kickback with this.
But it's like, oh, I don't want to believe it, but I know it's true.
Yeah, there's so much kickback. But I'm really dedicated in my yoga practice, but I'm not dedicated in my business, so I don't see that that's true. Well, let's have a look at that then, shall we? But it's always the same, because inherently you're only one frequency. You can't be one frequency in yoga and then one frequency in business. You're still one frequency energetically. So if you've got I talk about dating, if you've got low standards with men, that is a reflection of your self-worth. So your business is also a reflection of your self-worth. It's going to be lower than if you had high standards with dating. It's all interlinked, it's all the same.
Yeah, again, totally. And your course is really helping me see that even more and more, and really, yeah, like,
light bulbs.
It's amazing. So if you had one chance to say something to all the people watching this, what is the message you would love to get across? Like the one thing you want like everyone to hear and everyone to know.
I had a tsunami of thoughts. So there's so many things I'd like you all to know. But genuinely and truthfully, the one thing is that you already have everything that you require to create everything that you desire. There is nothing else outside of you. It's about understanding how to tune in to you and trusting, even when there's no evidence, really being able to trust that. It's so profoundly life-changing. Not only, I mean, my area is obviously business, but it's so profoundly life-changing when you recognize that. So that would be the one thing, I guess.
Yay. Yeah, really beautiful. I was on your live this morning actually, Shari, and I guess we hear things when we need to hear them. Like you can go back and watch something, and the first time you watch it you'll get one message, the second time you watch it you get a different message.
Always. Yeah.
One of the things I wrote down this morning as I was listening was commitment and decision, and it's like, okay, I think I'm committed, but now it's like a new decision to really step in, like with everything, without any reservation. And the difference that makes. So thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you for what you offer, what you bring, for your openness, for your integrity, and your shine, your radiance is very beautiful, and I'm really grateful for everything I'm learning with you, and also for this interview today. Really feel blessed. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much for having me here. It's been so much fun. I can't believe we've been talking for like an hour. It feels like we're just having a chat.
It goes, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, and let's just say, although I always put information below for people to reach out to you if they want to work with you, Shari, best way to reach you.
Well, I hang out on Facebook quite a lot. So I have a group on Facebook, which is the Aligned Business. And there's always stuff going on in there, lots of information, Psychic Thursdays. And also my website is sharithompson.co.uk. Less going on there at the moment. My energy is all in Facebook at the moment, but there are plans for the website. But you can reach me anywhere.
Yeah.
I'm about.
Yeah. So thank you again, and lots of love to everybody, and see you soon.
Thank you.